All right, guys, how we doing? Happy Monday. It's Monday, the 22nd of April, and you guys saw the voting tally. Pretty much a dead heat between the two majors. So we're gonna look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. First up, I've got Ethereum here to the dollar. I've got a 4-hour in front of us here on Finex. Now, okay, so I know you can't see the count there, but I just wanted to kind of point out some things here that are interesting. I don't know. I don't know that it necessarily is going to influence the next trade, but I think this is worth noting here, for a couple of reasons here. But I want you to see the precision with which this market is moving and how algo driven it is. So just basic stuff here, guys. Right? So I've just wicked off these levels here. So here's our low, prior low, right? Just some interesting things here. So first thing I want you to notice here is that if we look at these ranges, it would appear that we have just unbelievable precision in these ranges. So I'm just show you this. So from this to this level here, let me put this one in blue here. Okay, so there. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. The allergies here are just killing me. Okay, so let me take that. I'm going to clone that. Okay, and I'm going to go down here. I'm going to look and see. Well, look where this fits in just perfectly. I mean, it's to the tick perfect. Well, maybe a tick or two off. Looks like it broke by one tick. So I've got range equality here. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. We get this lower range here. Let's get that. We'll put that one in. We'll do that one in green here. So I'm going to do the same thing there. I'm going to clone. Let's see. I'm going to clone this. Now look at this. Exact same distance. It's within a couple of ticks. Almost identical ranges that we're playing with here. We're talking 1-2 tick. They're that close. So I see that I start thinking range expansion because these are moving with such precision. Right? So we get the upper range, the transition. So you can almost see that you could divide this into quarters like this. So we've got. I'll put this here. So we've got this range here, and then I'll bring this one down here. Here's that range. We can even just put it. Well, that'll work right there. So we've got this zone here, which seems to be somewhat no man's land here. We're just sort of stuck in there. You can see right here, the upper edge of it here. We get a low volume node. So it's something to take note of here. So. When I see that, I want to start thinking range expansion. So if I take this off here, well, a couple of things to note here. So I'm going to put the wolf range on here. So let me go to, right, which is just range expansion. All right, so look here. If we look at this first one down here, so this initial range that we were cloning down here. Well, here's the 100. Here's the 150. So you can see it kind of frames this upper range that we're in here, and note what we've just run into, right? I mean, it's to the tick resistance. Interesting, right? So we get that range. Then if I bring this down here, we get this lower range here, right? So now if I bring it all the way down, wrong one. If I can get it moved down here, and we come to this range. So we're kind of stuck in this no man's land here between these two. You can see how this is kind of dividing the market up. So as it relates to coming back up and where we are with an Elliott count, well, I got to show you a couple things. And now we've looked at these before. So from this swing to this swing here, let me get that right on there. I'm going to switch back to a measured move. So here's golden zone. All right, so I try and tell you guys, there are no random pivots in here. So first target, little reaction, second target to the tick. All right, kind of interesting. So then we look at coming back the other way, where if I'm drawing here, all right, you see this? So we've got from this golden zone here, we've just tagged the target. So we've got just incredibly precise technical trading happening in here, but for the Elliott count, boy, it's a bit of a cluster F. It's really hard to know where we are here. And so, of course, I always try and give you a trade if there is one, but I just don't think we have enough yet to really create a high probability zone here. So For the larger degree count here, for the bullish count, I think that it's not unreasonable to think we've got one A, B, expanded B wave into a C, and we're trying to get up the 3, the 4, and the 5 to get that to run. Well, if that's the 1, 2, we're looking for an impulse here, and we do get another impulse, and we run into the resistance here. So you see it here. We run into that resistance. Now the sell-off here, not terribly easy here for a wave count, which is, you know, this is where it's kind of the love it or hate it, right? So there's a degree of subjectivity here because this could be counted multiple ways. So right off the bat, you have an anomaly here with the expanded B wave. Right? You wouldn't choose that. And then it looks like here we get another anomaly because it would appear that we get an A, then a B, and then there's a C here, but it's a truncated C. So I've got an expanded B here followed by a truncated C. Well, so you might interpret that and saying, well, with the push up here to break this, you know, is it the market just inherently bullish, as in want to push for new highs? They don't get it, obviously, right? And then here's this an impatience. I had looked at I looked at a possibility here that there was a little impulse here, which was just so ugly. You'd have to go 1, 2, just a baby 1, 2, 3, 4, but the 2 and the 4 just got awful here. And then now as we look at this, note how we just bumped into that to the tick. And so you can say, well, maybe that's just the structure, right? As we identified that as that pivot, but just trying to get a sense of where we could be in this count. If that's 1, 2, well, we've got to go 1, 2. This can't be 3 of that degree, so we've got to go 1, 2 yet again. Now, are we done here? I think is kind of a big question. So, if this is correctly identified as a 1, right? Well, that's the hit we just got. But if that's just a 1 here, well, again, here I should point this out. Let me go zoom in here a little bit as well. So there's a bit of a question mark here as to whether or not we have a truncated fifth. So we're not getting, clear count. So if that's correctly identified as the 1, 2 of this degree, and we've gone 1, A, B, C, I can get a little diagonal down here. Note, it's just barely quite. So we get a little ending diagonal into this proposed C of the 1, 2. So sorry, and then 1, 2. Now I can get an impulse in here. Let me open this up so you can see it a little bit better. So I've got a clear impulse into a 1. It's kind of a squirrely A, B, C to give me a 2 here. But then look at how precise this is. So if this is if this is the low of my 2, and I'm going to go into my 1, and then here for my 2. Well, I'm not quite making 100% here, so then you'd have to measure and say, well, how is 3 relative to the fifth, right? And so we'd have an extension in the 1, 3, 4, but I think the tell is here, right? So the 1 would be the extension, 3 not the longest, but it doesn't have to be, just can't be the shortest. But look at this, it's spared the overlap here damn near to the tick, right? It's a 1 tick spare of that overlap to keep the impulse here. So from that 1, 2, I can get my impulsive 3. Now it doesn't, it's not, well, let's just draw it up here. So from the 1 to the 2, well, if that's the 3, here's my 2, 6, 1, 8. So here's the higher probability zone, but it doesn't work as well given what follows. So it looks like that's got to be my 3 here. So here's where it gets tricky. Now we get this straight pump down. Again, looks like A, B, truncated C. Right? There's just not enough in here to get 3 out of it. So you got to go A, B, C into a truncated C of the 4. So we get this pattern of truncation, which can be an indication of how bullish the market is. Right? We saw this, as you guys will recall, I mention it all the time. This was just everywhere you looked in 2017. Truncated Cs, just impatient market. Okay, so playing that through, if that's 1, 2, and that is the 3, the 4, well then look what we get here, right? Then we've got to go yet again with a truncated 5, which would kind of suggest weakness. Because if this is the 4, right? If this is the 4, so if correctly identified, and that's the truncated C of my 4, so I stay with an impulse. Well, I can get 5 here, right? It's an impulse, pardon me, from this low. I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a 1. Note again, got to go A, B, C. Right, so how many anomalies in a row is that? 4, 5 with the truncated C. So it makes you a little bit cautious about the count. So I want more information is what I'm kind of getting at here. So is this 1, 2, 3 A, B, C? Shit, you'd have to have another truncation here of the C. If that's correctly identified as the 4, then you got to go 1, 2, 3, 4 diagonal to finish that truncated 5. So 5 anomalies in a row. Well, you certainly wouldn't script that to find the ideal market to be trading. Yet I don't. Oh shit! Right, it could be counted multiple ways because it's. So you look here and it's at first glance your eye wants to see. Oh, I got 5 down. So it looks like you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that still may be the case. We still might have that this is 5, and I've got this incorrectly identified. Although I'm struggling with it. Boy, because there is an impulse into this. So, oh shit, what's an alternate here? Well, this is still, we could go A, you could have a truncated B, so pardon me, you could have an expanded B wave here. Right, so already, how many in a row where you're just outside of the norm, right? It just makes you hesitant. So I want something that really is going to give me a lot of confidence as to where I am because I'm already a little uneasy with this truncated 5th to come down here. I checked all the exchanges that I shouldn't say all of them. I checked 4 or 5 of them here, and we do not overlap anywhere that I saw. So 1, but there is 5 there. It's tough, right? So then coming down, it's a shallow B. Good luck getting 5 out of that C. So again, you're going to have to allow for a skinny C relative to the AB. I don't love it, right? So you wouldn't, given the number of anomalies we've just gone through, right? Let's just say for the sake of conversation that I've got this correctly identified, and I've just done an impulse here with a truncated 5. Well, where am I now in that count? Well, that's a whole lot of 1, 2s. So I think this would be our 3rd one or 4th. Well, this would be the 2nd, 2, 3rd. 4th 1, 2 in a row. Well, that's getting very bullish. So are we done here, right? So is this ABC done here, or is this just a larger correction, right? We can't, if that's the A, this could be the B, and a C is going in down here. Can't eliminate that as a possibility. So I'm a little reluctant to say, oh, okay, well, we've got our buy signal here for the 2 into the 3 of the 1 of the 1 of the 1 of the 1. So yeah, I don't see a rush to get in here. I don't. So note here. So if this is a correctly identified as our pivot low, well, we've just tagged the 50. So let's assume that gets to target. That can't be our 3. Right? So this has got to go. This has got to have more legs in it. So I don't see a trade here. It's too uncertain. The count is really wobbly because there's so many alternates that could be equally as valid here. So sometimes in that situation, I think it's better to just pull back out and go, okay, where could this be? Could we be done here? So let's think bearishly, because you can. So let's say that this is going to end up being corrective. What are we correcting is the first question. And just to kind of broad stroke it, let's say this is, let's not worry about the subdivision, just the dominant swings, right? This looks like those would be your dominant swings. So if that were A, even if it's here, A, B, C into the B, it doesn't look like we could be done yet. I mean, if this is going to play as a diagonal, and we're going to somehow finish this with a larger A, B, C before we go down again, which I think is less likely. If this is going to come down here, well, A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, looking from this swing here, well, we're not even to 100% of it. Again, it's possible that you could get another kicker up here, and that would do it. So you'd have your A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to give you your completed ABC here. So at least you'd have 5. Right now we can't get 5 here. You can't get an A, B. Well, shit. I mean, I suppose you could, but this does not, unless this starts to really break down here. I don't think we've got a hard pivot here. I think there's at least one more push up here. But as to how far it goes is really going to tell us where we are in this count. This is just really anyone's guess. I'd be very surprised if an Elliottician can put up a count here with a whole lot of conviction. And, you know, it's one thing to label it. It's another thing to trade it, right? So we can all come up with a count here. But a count that's good enough to trade, I'm not sure we're there. I'll just show you again. So when it's that clear and the Elliott is just questionable, right? So then, you know, I don't stay locked and loaded into Elliott only. So let me show you this, just an observation here. So let me get this here. We'll lock this in here. I'm just gonna fix the scale. Let me go to scale and let's lock it. So because the range expansion looks like it's been effective here and the market's responding to that, this is what I'll do. So I'm going to use the wolf tube. Let me change the template, show you how I come to this. Where's the wolf tube? All right, so it's just range expansion. So you can let me zoom in here so you can see what I'm getting to. Okay, so with range expansion, we want to identify that first swing, that first pivot swing. So this is pretty much of a straight rip up. So you'll note here, so look how this starts to frame the market. So if I've got my initial range correctly identified, well, here's 100%. Then we come all the way back down to the 50%, then back to the 100%. So I feel like I've got fairly good range expansion here. So I'm going to go, with that identified, I want to go to the next 100. All right, so next 100 is teed up here. Well, here would be the expansion of this range. So if we are just stuck in this range, we'll note here we've come down and tested this. Yeah, we broke it just we broke it, right? So we've got this down here as our support, very close to this range. We banged. Now, if this is going to break down and come back down towards this, then that would be a likely spot, as that's halfway through the range. What would that do to the count? Well, that's going to change it pretty dramatically. So then the other thought is we do the same thing here with this range expansion, because I've got it again. I get kind of this is my secondary range. See here's 200%. So I would be anticipating this to hold. So then with that range expansion, it's been a while since we looked at this, but here I might go to my Gann square and say, well, how am I looking here if I'm going to use this as my, I didn't lock the scale unlocked for me. Hang on a sec. I had this right here. I think that is spot on. See, so let me lock that. Shit. Yeah, that'll do it. Let me lock that range. I want you to stay locked. Okay, so once you lock it, you can't hit auto, it'll unlock it. So note here, so from this low, here's my initial range expansion. So you can see from this, well, here's my 45 degree, tagging it right here. Here's my 2x1, 3x1, seem to be offering, so note here. So you can see how the arcs here have contained the market as we're struggling to get through this. 2x1 holding as good support, 3x1 tested down here. So this is, you know, next place I'll go if I'm so unclear about the Elliott count. I'm looking for structure here, which is why I wanted to take you guys through that initial range expansion, those range that seem to be so equal in distance. So if we're going to push up here, that's what I'm looking for as the next pivot here, to give me more confidence in this as a 2, this is a 2, and this is my absolute low. So we know this, the 45 degree, the 1x1, right? We're bullish above, bearish below, right? So technically, we want to get above that. Need to get pushing here to the next pivot here. So this being the 100% of that range expansion looks like a reasonable target. I just don't think there's enough clarity here to support a trade. So let me just say it this way: I'm not adding here. I don't know where we are. I'm a little unsure of it, other than stuck in these recurring ranges with prior pivots offering support, resistance, right? Prior support becomes the resistance. Prior support becomes the resistance. Tag to the tick here, slight break here. Seems like there's something going on here with range expansion. Could be another algo that's at play in here. But until I get more clarity on this as to where I am in the count here, I just don't see enough to put on a new trade here. Now, if you're long, I wouldn't be hitting the panic button. And if you're short, well, I'd be curious to see your count. I don't think you can be done yet. If you're short and you think that's 1-2, be interested to see how you're finishing the. I don't see it. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can't go A, B, C. It's not done yet. I don't think so. Now I could be wrong. Of course I could be wrong, right? So first premise is you're going to be wrong more than you're right. So I always assume I'm wrong because I know the odds favor me right there. So, but if that's coming down, and we're going to go down, we're going to take on those lows. Where are we going? First question: what is this correcting? Right, that's one hell of a big. So if we're going to go up here, let's say we get that. So you're going to be able to. So the bears are going to be able to think A, B, A, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So we went through that in the beginning. What are you correcting, bears? Yeah, got the. Well, now I want to unlock it. Let me unlock here. Okay, and we'll take this off because that as soon as you move all that, completely fucks this up. So my broader question to bears: what are you correcting? The entire thing? Is this what you think we're correcting? Well, that would be 50% of it. I don't see it, guys. I don't like to be blindly bullish, but I do not see it. How are you going to justify that? So what is a bear seeing here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I could be wrong, but I do not see it. Right. So maybe you got something like this in play. Let's use the higher pivot. Right. Algo doesn't care about an Elliott count, so I'm just going to use the dominant pivots here. What? Yeah, it's not a great count, right? So but I don't think we are correcting this. Too big. So up here, we're going to, maybe, right? Well, we don't have to wonder. We know there'll be an algo sitting to sell up there. Right? Doesn't matter what we think about the count. There'll be an algorithm that will be there to sell. Of course, just because there's an algo there doesn't mean we can't get through it. But where are we there? That's 462. So if there's an opportunity to get long, to get to 462 before we run into a larger, here's a 4 hour, before we run into a larger algo looking to sell there, well, that's a pretty meaty trade. If that ends up being a correction point, and we are indeed going to go down here, well, right, where's that algo aiming for? Right, -80. Obviously, right, can't do that, right? So I'm dying to find a place to add. I just don't see it yet. I just don't think that the count is clear enough here to support the idea of new money going to work here. It's just too unclear. I need like 2 more pivots to get more confidence as to where I am. I don't know that this is good. I don't know that this is good. This could be A, B, and there's another C coming down. I just don't know where we are. So when in doubt, stay out. Simple, right? Or don't, well, if you're in, maybe use some structure here for ideas about where to place your stop. Right, because there's just no telling here. So after we do the Bitcoin video as well, I think with Bitcoin on the move here, unless you're in an ETH Bitcoin spread, I think as Bitcoin goes, it'll pull Ethereum with it. So I think that there's likely one more push higher here. And then you're gonna have to wrestle with the fact that that could now complete the fifth of an ABC, and we'll have to really look at the count there to see if it supports the idea of a short. Right now, I don't want to add, I don't want to sell, so I'm kind of in the wait and see. Give me a couple more pivots, I'll feel better about where we are. All right, guys, that's a long-winded way to say no trade, but that's the best I can give you there. I'd love to give you a trade if I saw one, but I wouldn't trade it here. All right, guys, back to you.